everybody next year will be much more ready for it. That's a good one.
Okay, the New York Islanders, coming off the high of drafting Matthew Schaefer first overall after Noah Dobson was dealt to Montreal. Alexander Romanov gets an 8-year deal. The signing of Maxim Shabanov was an interesting one for me, Elliot, because this comes a year after they brought in Siplikov from Russia. So Shabanov over 20 goals each of the last 2 years in the KHL. I mean, this is a team that for the last number of years has tried to find more scoring. And for a second straight year, they go to a free agent out of Russia to try to help with that.
And there were a lot of teams after that guy, like Philly in particular, was really disappointed they didn't get him. Like, I like them up front, Kyle. There's a lot of good players up front there. Like, like this team should be able to score. You know, Barzal's health is a key part of it. I'll tell you too, the interesting thing, there were a lot of rumors about Pajot. There was one team out there that was adamant the Islanders wanted to keep him. You know, one of their guys told me that every time there was a rumor out there, they would check in and the Islanders would say, nope, like, we're not doing it. So, like, the one thing is there's so many things that are so crazy at this time of year. You don't know if it's something's wrong, or it may be true for some teams and not true for other teams, or exactly what's out there. But this one guy was adamant to me that the Islanders liked their center depth and didn't want to do anything with it. You know, Drouin, I thought, like, the one thing that Darce was pretty clear about was, aside from Romanov, who's their own guy, he wasn't doing term. And I think Drouin had 2 years at $4 million. Patrick Waugh knows him really well. Like, I think the thing that Drouin's done that's very smart is the last couple of years, he put himself with Nathan McKinnon, who knew him really well. And now he's putting himself with Patrick Waugh, who knows him really well. And, you know, I think I think that's important. And I think that's a good signing. You know, the other thing too is, so on one of the previous pods, we talked about the Dobson deal, and that Columbus offered Voronkov, and they preferred the Montreal deal with Heineman. And
yes,
there was kind of the question was, you know, Dobson wanted to go to Montreal, but I heard the Islanders really wanted Heineman. And the reason was too is that if you look at their history, they had that identity line, right? Well, Martin's gone and Clutterbuck's gone. Like, those are both great players, huge parts of that team who are now retired. They still have Cizikas, and I think they felt that Heineman could bring them a little bit of that. And they thought that was important for them. Like, Darce clearly had a plan. No term, short term, good fits. I like the Romanov extension. You know, signing Riddick seems to confirm that Varlamov, I've heard all sorts of things about this injury, and I'm looking forward to seeing Isaiah George potentially as a full-time NHLer. In his own small way, Darce has already started to put his stamp on the team, and I hope that next year we see a rejuvenated Anthony Duclair. That's one thing I'd like to see too.
Absolutely. Especially, and he would know Drouin well also. And Heineman, like you mentioned him with Montreal, I mean, until the unfortunate incident in Utah where he got hit by a vehicle as a pedestrian, he was putting together a heck of a season. So you can see why the Islanders would prioritize somebody like that when it came to making that deal. So
yeah, I mean, it's going to be a really competitive division. I see Darce's vision, at least for this year. It makes sense to me.
Okay, across the Brooklyn Bridge to Manhattan, the New York Rangers. So Chris Drury acknowledged that, yes, what we watched a lot of last season, that the Rangers struggled with defending the high danger areas of the ice last year. So in comes Vladislav Gavrikov for 7 years at $7 million AAV. How long have the Rangers been hoping, wishing, dreaming up the opportunity to bring that player to the Big Apple?
Well, it sounds like for a while. I really like Gavrikov. I think he's a heck of a player. You know, obviously he's going to help them a lot. I heard they tried to do a sign and trade with him too. Until he hit the market on July 1st, there was talk that they were going to try to trade him to or the Rangers were going to try to trade for him to get the 8th year. And you know what? Like, he didn't get the 8th year. He still got 7 times 7, but that says to me that guy really wanted to be a Ranger. And, you know, that's a good sign. You're not dragging someone to play for you because you're throwing the biggest offer out there. You're getting a guy that honestly wants to play for you. Look, they weren't willing to make the same gamble contract-wise on Miller that Carolina was, as we said. So if you're not going to do that, it's best to move on. You know, I actually really thought that Drury had a really good start to the offseason. He got Will Cooley done. Like, we were all sitting here saying, is Cooley going to get an offer sheet? We missed the guy who was going to get the offer sheet. That was Miller. But he gets Cooley done at a very reasonable number. I think the other thing, too, Kyle, is that the biggest win for Drury and the Rangers is there was no drama. Like, after a season of drama, there was none of that. And, like, for example, like Kreider thanked them on the way out. It was clear the two sides worked together to get him to a place where he wanted to go. No noise. Not like the last couple of years. It's very clear they're working with Zibanejad. You know, Sullivan goes to meet him. They're trying to figure out a way to make it all work. Avoid the noise. I mean, you never know if it will continue, but the bottom line is this season is not starting the way the last two did. 2 years ago, it was Barclay Goodrow. Last summer, it was Trouba. There's none of that right now. And they got a good player in Gavrikov. I think, you know, the other thing, too, is I also like the Taylor Radish pickup. I thought he was good in Washington last year. And so the role I see him fitted for with the Rangers, I think that's a good role. The guy I really want to see take a step this year, because I've always thought there was a player there, is Parssinen. He hasn't shown it yet. That's the guy I want to see take the jump. And, you know, Gabe Perreault is going to get a chance to make this team too. But Parssinen, to me, like, he's at the point where he's got to take the jump. And we'll see, Kyle, here what happens with Panarin.
Okay. The Philadelphia Flyers. So bring in Christian Dvorak, Noah Juleson, Dennis